I was brought up C of E, but so Church of England. But I don't necessarily think I have a faith as such now. I think I'm far too logical and pragmatic. I think maybe I'm sceptical of a single person or a single being the all sort of the all commanding power. I don't think I'd necessarily want someone to tell me who I am. I'll find that out on my own. It's kind of the Jesus thing that probably turns me off from religion more than anything else. I don't think I'd need someone to turn water into wine to convince me that of a faith. I don't think I'd need physical evidence. If I knew empirically there was a Jesus in the world right now, I don't even know whether him and I would get along.
Just had a great conversation with a man here in the park. Ultimately, he doesn't accept religion, doesn't accept Christianity, respects it, but on the basis of having to submit to an external authority, he believes that this is not something that he would like to do. He wants to find his own truth. He doesn't want to be told what to follow, what to say, what to do, how to think, but he wants to find those things out for himself, find a truth for himself wherever it may lead him, rather than be led to truth, to the one who has the truth. So it's an interesting position. Sad one, I think, ultimately, because why would you want to leave it to yourself? The ultimate questions of life, if it's given to you, if you're led to the water, why wouldn't you drink it? It's something that I'm struggling really to understand, but I have to respect, and I hope one day maybe, and this usually comes through age, and as we realize that our capacities, our abilities are very much little to none, and we're not able to find those answers to those questions ourselves. Not only that, but life keeps throwing bigger and bigger problems where we realize that we need some help from the Almighty, help from one who has the truth, who can give us hope and the joy supernatural. So I do pray maybe one day he will realize this, maybe he'll remember this conversation, and he'll look to the one who can give him the answers that he's been looking for in life. So thank you for watching. Have a look, see what you think. Let me know. Put it down in the comments. And otherwise, thank you for watching, and God bless, and see you in the next video. God bless. Do you have any faith or religion or belief?
I was brought up C of E, but so Church of England. But I don't necessarily think I have a faith as such now. But sort of grew up in that environment. So yeah.
Okay. What sort of led to your current kind of position? Is it like something you've really given it some thought, or you just kind of drifted out, never really kind of invested time in?
I think about it a fair amount. I think quite often around sort of Christmas, I think about it a lot more, because I think like, why are we all doing this if there's no faith? Do you know what I mean? So I think that my lack of faith in like a higher sort of power or religion or anything like that is probably because I think I'm far too like logical and pragmatic. It confuses me, the idea that I think we're all just chemical reactions, and that one day those chemical reactions stop, and that's okay. Do you know what I mean? I don't have a problem with that idea. So I think everyone's well within their right to believe what they want to. I'm not going to tell anybody else what they should believe, but I also think that I'm okay feeling that I know what I know. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. So would you say then intrinsically that there's like a sort of a tension, or at least a conflict between, let's say, science and religion?
I think so, yeah, but I guess the thing is that, I mean, if you want to say skeptical of everything, then science in itself is kind of a religion. Do you know what I mean? There's certain, it's just the production of knowledge, isn't it? And what you perceive to be knowledge. So science tells us that we're chemical reactions. Science tells us that we're sat on a world that revolves around the sun, and there is a lot of evidence that points to that. Yeah. But that is still a creation of knowledge that we decided is our reality, and that's not really very different from religion, because for years we were told that there, you know, whether you're, regardless of what religion, there is a higher power, or there is means of you ascending to heaven, or going to an afterlife, or reincarnate, whatever it is, that's your perceived reality, isn't it? So I guess that's kind of, there is a lot of contrast, but I don't think it's any more contrast between science and religion than religion and other subsections of religion. Do you see what I mean?
Got it. But then you mentioned kind of logic and sort of kind of reason and thinking. So I guess which part of the religion would you say kind of puts you off from that sort of aspect of it? Yeah.
I think to me, because of that mentality that I've got, I think I try and really stay in the moment of like, if this is the only time that I'm going to be able to, the fact that I'm even on this planet in this moment, speaking to you while you're holding a phone that's filming me, is really special in itself, isn't it? So your ability to live in the moment and really enjoy what you're doing right now, I think is sometimes inhibited by this idea of, like, a lot of the things that I see with religion, it's people trying to repent and or make themselves a better person so they're rewarded in the afterlife. Right. But if in my world the afterlife doesn't exist, I almost see that as like, we're thinking too far ahead here. Let's just focus on life and what we can actually do within life, rather than focus on, how I'm going to be treated in an afterlife that I don't honestly believe exists. So
understood. But then how would you? I guess I think I get your point, and it's a very valid point. But I think. I would say that sort of tendency of religion to think that way is almost as a consequence of the basic fundamental understanding that we are made by someone else, right? So, and if you sort of submit to that, right, that means that, okay, I don't really know who I am until the Creator sort of explains to me what am I about, what my purpose in life is, and therefore I'm going to accept that and sort of follow that. But then how would you, if you put that aside, what is the purpose of human beings? What is our intrinsic sort of goal and drive and ultimate purpose?
Yeah. Oh, that's a question. I mean, I guess that's the whole basis of religion, isn't it? That it's obviously stemmed at some point from human beings having that innate desire to know what the purpose is, what's the meaning. And if you find your meaning in religion, or you find your meaning in what you do, everyone finds their meaning in different ways. And religion has really been that catalyst for a lot of that, for a lot of history, for human history. I think that kind of, what was the question? How would I find my purpose? I guess my purpose is just in experiencing it right now, and not really. I try not to dwell too much on it, because I think actually it can sometimes inhibit you from being able to just live and experience it. Do you know what I mean? I do think if you can try and live your life, I think you need to put more into the world that you've been born into than the amount that you take back out. So you bring in more positivity and kindness to other people around you than removing, being a negative force on someone's experience of their own life. Do you see what I mean? And whether that's as simple as using your manners, or holding open a door, or saying hello in the street, or something like that. That to me is as simple as it can be. So yeah, maybe it's all about experience is kind of my purpose.
And it's, presumably, this is not meaning to sort of devalue that view. That's as noble view as anyone else, but it's an experience-based view, right? It's almost like a product of, well, that's how you would like to be treated, and therefore, and that's something that you found very useful and valuable to yourself when you were treated that way. Therefore, you would want to treat the others to kind of share that experience, right? But intrinsically, there's no sort of, if you were to reduce it to the sort of Richard Dawkins, we're all just atoms, moving about in space. There is nothing better or worse about that. That's just as arbitrary of a view as, let's say, religion or anything else, right?
Yeah, that's simply someone's perspective. It's just a rationalisation. It's everyone is rationalising why we're here, and everyone has their own perspective, and sometimes that amalgamates into Richard Dawkins, or sometimes that amalgamates into the Pope. It's just just different schools of thought, isn't it? So.
Got it. How would you then evaluate like some of the more specific religious claims? Like if we stay within Christianity, right, and the claim of the Bible and what the Bible portrays, especially the New Testament. A person called Jesus who lived on this earth 2,000 years ago, who was recorded saying things, doing things, who was witnessed by multiple contemporaries, who started a movement, historical movement, which we have the Christian church today. There's quite a lot of sort of, there's no sort of, I would say, open and shut, let's say, proof if you're looking for some sort of a mathematical kind of equation, but there's quite a lot of there historically that this happened. How do you kind of take that and then sort of work with that? Like, is that real? Does it mean something to you?
Yeah, it's a complicated one, isn't it? Because I think that I think a lot of people can, their skepticism towards religion is, well, Jesus didn't exist, so therefore, or he didn't actually turn water into wine, or he didn't actually feed the masses with a loaf of bread and some fish. But I think sometimes it's when it's pushed too literally. I think the Christian values that are like kind of shown off through it, or the Christian values that are really at the core of the Bible, I guess. And you can say the same thing about the Quran or Torah scrolls or whichever it's going to be. They're in an effort to push like certain Christian values. So whether it's kindness or generosity or fairness or whatever you take from it. And I think sometimes that literal reading of any of the holy sort of books can sometimes be to the detriment of religion to me, because I think you get so confused in whether this actually happened as to not talk about, well, why are we telling the story? I think it's completely okay to say that the Bible is fictional, and you can still learn something from a fictional story. You can still learn value, and that's not me saying the Bible is fictional, but I just think that that you can still learn a lot and learn values from stories that aren't necessarily like completely historically accurate. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. And yet there are some, I mean, let's see if you agree with me, right? There are some times in which the values can be quite ambiguous, let's say, like in a contemporary society. I mean, I'm not going to sort of press you on what you think about things like, let's say, abortion or marriage, or being between man and a woman, all this stuff. But those are the kind of very contentious issues today in the society, which, depending on your view of religion, right, would make you swing one way or another, right? Yeah. And I guess that goes back to we would all sort of like to say that we like to get values and sort of appreciate and follow what the Bible teaches. But yet when it comes to those points, right, there's a clear kind of distinguishing line, right? So there are some issues which you would clearly fall on one side or the other. Yeah. I mean, how do you sort of contend with some of those, how do you make determination, like what is right and what is wrong morally?
I think that's so tough, because I think all of us have a different understanding of what a moral compass is. We get brought up in different environments that tell us different things, and I can see why somebody who has been brought up sort of quite devoutly religious would take stronger views on certain subjects that we could see as contentious. I think my personal way of looking at it is looking at it more from an individual human level. Is this the right thing for this human being? And if they want, a lot of it is about trusting each other as human beings that we're doing the right thing, and that's not a perfect way to do it. I think sometimes you can trust people too much, and you find that it won't work out the right way. But I think you have to have an innate sort of trust in each other that you're doing the right thing. But I think that when it comes to contentious subjects, a lot of the time it's the interpretation of one or two people in power that define that as the empirical truth. So if you're making a stance, we're against this or we're for this, it's because there's a smaller group at the top who are deciding what the line is, and people who are devout and feel loyal to this worldview also may feel loyal to those policies or mindsets. I don't know. Yeah, it's difficult. I wish there would be a simple yes or no, but you never get easy answers to difficult questions. So
appreciate that. Yeah, and I guess it's something interesting word you use, trust. I mean, I guess it leads me to another question that is, do you think that we are intrinsically good as human beings? Would you say that's true?
Well, I think that it'd be again naive to say that every single human being ever on the planet is a good human being. However, I think that you have, to me, I would rather have a optimistic opinion of humanity than a pessimistic, because I'd rather be proven. I'd rather have an optimistic view of the world and be proven right. Well, I'd rather be proven right if I had an optimistic point of view than proven right if I had a pessimistic point of view. If I was believing that every single human being on the planet is great, and suddenly it turned out that there was a few people that weren't, it'd be disappointing, but I would still be able to see the good people. If I was a negative person that decided that we were all inherently bad people, and I found out that every single human being was a bad human being, then I don't think I'd be particularly happy with that outcome anyway. Do you see what I mean? I don't think I'm gaining anything from that negativity. You have to believe to a certain respect that there are good people, and most people are innately have the potential to be a good human being. So, but that's perspective, isn't it?
Yeah. And yet, I mean, we live in a world which, I mean, I don't have to tell you, like all the stuff that's happening at the moment right now. I mean, how do you? And it seems like there was a sense in which we were expected to, through education, through technological advances, to do away with the things of the past, to do away with the conflicts, the the imbalances, let's say, of power, of wealth, of status, and all that stuff. We were supposed to do away with that through advance, through human sort of progress, and yet it doesn't seem like we're making much progress, right? In that regard.
No. But then the thing is that you're never at the, you know, every single decision made by a human being really is moving towards the future, moving towards your utopia. But you never achieve the utopia. You never reach that goal. There's always something that you're going to have to change, but it's working towards that idea of a perfect world, which hopefully makes the world a better place. And I'm not saying that right now it is a perfect world. It definitely isn't. But I think that there's nothing you can do apart from keep working towards that utopia, that reality that you never see it. You know, none of us are ever going to be in a perfect world, but yeah, working towards it is probably the only option that we have, really. Because we just give up and we decide the world's done, we're finished. I don't want to be a part of the generation that decides that. I feel like there's been some interesting generations of human beings, and I think if like the luck of being the ones that decided we're going to bin it all off in the end. I don't fancy being a part of that world. So
I agree with you. I'm not a sort of either one of the who's just ready to just give up and sort of throw the towel. But maybe what I'm getting to is, did we get the diagnosis correctly? And let me give you a quick story, right? I don't know when this was, but I think probably a couple of decades ago, G.K. Chesterton responded to some sort of a radio show challenge, and that was people should write in or call in what they think that what is wrong in this world. And G.K. Chesterton was one of the philosophers or Christian thinkers a couple of decades ago, and he wrote a very simple answer. 2 words, I am. I guess this is the Christian idea. We are ultimately, the problem is within us. It's not necessarily out there, and that group of people and this sort of person or that person, all of us kind of are actually seeded with sin, right? And that manifests itself when we say, look, I think I want to do right by me. More so than I want to do right by you or anyone else, right? Because when the push comes to shove, I want to make sure that I come up on top, right? And that ultimately kind of then drives us to conflicts and disparities and suffering ultimately, right? I mean, do you think there's something about that idea?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's that kind of idea of it's the decision between sometimes what's the right thing to do and what's the easier thing to do. I think sometimes it's very easy to go with the more trodden path, which often it's easier to probably fire a missile than get in a room and have a conversation with somebody, and it's or to have a genuine sort of compassionate conversation between two people could be a really difficult thing to do. Honest conversations aren't easy things. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're in world conflict or you've had an argument with your mate. It's not an easy thing to actually have a level of honesty and compassion in a conversation. So I think that's probably where I rationalise it. It's much easier to be cruel than it is to be kind and do the right thing, but quite often you find that the road less travelled is the one that really is the one that's going to take you further forward and help people around you. So definitely there's that temptation, that if you sin, if you like, that capacity to sin, because it's easier to do that. You know, it's easier to sort of look after number one, to kind of think purely about yourself or about your own values and how you can benefit from the world. But I think it's a far more interesting, I think a far more rewarding worldview to try and maybe don't go down the easiest route. Try and sort of think more compassionately about the people around you. But I would agree with that. But I think ultimately Jesus was speaking about something similar, right? He was saying, deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. And that's the idea of, don't think of yourself highly. Put yourself low. You are a sinner. The cross is sort of an idea of that you deserve as much as the next person in terms of guilt, right? You carry that with you, and you follow the one. But then this is the difference, right? To say follow me is something that is quite radical, right? Because if Jesus said, look, we all know what the problem is. Well, the problem is ourselves. Let's say we agree on that. But then we have different ideas of what the solution might be. And that's where he offered himself as the solution. Let's say, imitate me, follow me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. That's pretty exclusive. That's pretty, I think, radical. And
divisive in that regard, right? I know you mentioned before about something like, the values and stuff the Bible sort of teaches is something that you would not necessarily disagree with. But is there anything that you, from your sort of memory recollection, like, is there anything that Jesus kind of was saying or stuff like that you would say, look, it's fine to take this part, but like this stuff is a little bit out there, or yeah.
I think it's a very difficult one, because I can't honestly say that. I mean, I haven't engaged with sort of religious sort of
doctrine or whatever.
Anything since I was really quite young. But I think sometimes there's that. I think maybe I'm skeptical of a single person, or a single being the all sort of the all commanding power. That's where I kind of step away from it. It's kind of the Jesus thing that probably turns me off from religion more than anything else. I think I believe in the values, and I think that the sense of building a sense of community is really important as well within a religion. Like the idea of feeling part of something, like you're moving forward together as a group, is a really positive part of anything, of any sort of part of the world. But I think in completely surrendering your own autonomy, and maybe that's quite sort of, that maybe down a more radical end of religion, but deciding that you yourself as a human being have no individual individual value, really, because it's your whole dedication is to a higher power. And that's where I kind of lose it. It's the higher power that I think actually the importance of humanity really is to understand that every single person is unique, every single person is different, every single person is good, bad, capable of as much as they want to be. They're complicated, but either way you are in a sense in charge of your own destiny, and it shouldn't be a higher power that you're working towards. It should just be your own decisions. And I think that's kind of it. It's the autonomy in your own decision making that makes me think that's kind of where I sort of diverge from the religious sort of doctrine, I guess.
That's interesting, that you say that. And I guess maybe it's kind of finding that. I'm just trying to sort of, because I think even the Bible is very clear about, the reason that Jesus even came is about how much God has actually thought about us, right? As in from a biblical perspective, you have, let's compare sort of different religions. You have different views of relationship between God and God's creation from different religions. In some religions we are slaves of the higher one, or in some religions we are almost like on par, almost like semi-gods, and some people have just risen higher than others. But in Christianity, it's interesting, right? Because it's clear that God thinks very actually highly of human beings, so highly in fact that he sent his son on this earth to die instead of us, right? To die for us. So that very problem that we sort of discussed before, he actually came to solve. By putting himself on the cross, taking the punishment that we deserve, he taking it on ourselves. It just shows how much actually he thinks about us, how he wants us to sort of restore that relationship with us.
See, I'm of the thing of I appreciate that, but then it's kind of it's difficult to say because it sounds kind of insensitive, but I guess it's just my opinion. But it's like, and I need to be thankful for that. I have to be thankful for that. Is that kind of the? And I'm not sure whether I think you should. I think that. Well, it's a complicated one. It's kind of. I'm not sure. Does the created always have to feel thankful to be created? Should I be thankful that I'm being here? I'm being put here because, as we spoke before, this world isn't perfect. I've been placed into a world where I'm struggling to book a dentist appointment with the NHS. That doesn't seem like a particularly perfect world we're in right now, and I'm meant to be thankful to God for that. Do you see what I mean? And it's like that's kind of where I falter, because I think the existence of we're told innately that we're imperfect. And so when you're told there is a perfection, there is a God, there is there is a perfection out there, I think I'm skeptical of that because there is no being that is innately perfect. It's not that simple. And to devout I just, that's kind of where I sort of dip out the conversation, I think. But
it's a very interesting. I mean, so just quickly, just off to the side, reminds me, because I was in the Oxford Circus one day, and there was this other let's call him he was a nihilist. His name is Danny. He often sort of just speaks to people, engages them. But in his nihilistic views, he purports, or he presents a view in which people should not have offspring anymore. There's nothing to look forward to live for, even though he has children. But it's interesting. I don't know how he answers that question.
Not your dad.
But he's saying, look, he gathers people around him, and challenges them. Hey, do you know why your parents had you? And often they get confused. They're like, no, I don't. And it's like, see, you don't even know why your parents had you, and you shouldn't have children either. You're bringing them into a world that is difficult. That is, why would you make the world worse? But it's just, I challenged him once, and it was amongst a crowd of people, and I just sort of said, okay, Danny, just 1 second, let's ask these people, is anyone here not glad that they are alive? And like everyone actually was I'm glad to be alive.
To be here.
No, exactly. It's kind of like, look, I have difficulties, I have issues, life is difficult. Everyone sort of acknowledges that, but at the same time, everyone is glad that they were born.
Yeah.
Right, no matter how difficult life they had. And that's interesting, right? So to me, I mean, that was sort of like, okay, there's a sense in which this is a gift. The fact that I can experience the good and the bad, the fact that I can enjoy this. There is a sense that it's a gift that I, to your point, should I be thankful? I was like, why not, right? Because if it is a gift, if it is something that there was a choice between me existing and not existing, I guess...
You take existence.
I take existence as a gift that I'm not deserving of. And if there's someone who is responsible for that, but yes, I do give him thanks and praise and glory that is deserving of that.
Yeah. No, that's it. I mean, it works both ways. There's two sides to every story, isn't there? So, yeah, I can't disagree with you.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything, like, if you think about, I know I appreciate the positions where you are now, and thank you again for sharing your views, but like, is there anything that would change, right? So like some people say, look, if you gave me some more evidence, or if I just had an experience maybe of the kind that people often say that they had, like, some sort of a supernatural experience or something like that they've heard, seen, or experienced, or some more evidence that would sort of convince you otherwise, would there be anything that would sort of say, look, with these things, I'll be maybe more serious with it, but right now it's not there yet?
Yeah, no, I mean, see, I'm not, I think I see religion as such a structure of beliefs and values that to me, religion doesn't represent it doesn't need evidence. In the same way that I was talking about not taking the Bible literally, I don't think I'd need someone to turn water into wine to convince me that of a faith. I don't think I'd need physical evidence. I don't think it's physical evidence that's stopping me from choosing a faith. I think it's more my own disagreements with certain values within those that stop me from doing it. I think if there was a man who walked around and started bringing together miracles, I think that's incredible. Maybe there is a higher power, maybe there is, and perhaps, but can I honestly still say that I think even if there was an existence of Jesus in the world right now, I can't honestly say that I would still follow him. Do you see what I mean? Because I don't necessarily know whether I'm that. I don't know. I can't honestly say that if I knew empirically there was a Jesus in the world right now, I don't even know whether him and I would get along. Do you see what I mean? I'm not sure he particularly liked me, so I don't.
Is it just the inherent kind of suspicion, maybe, of the authority, of the power, of the structure?
Yeah. Because I think, I think I'm kind of strongly of the mentality of social mobility, of being able to move from where you are. Anybody can be born of any position and should be able to move up to be exactly where they want to be. Whereas it's kind of almost it's almost on that level of, and it isn't, I want to make it clear, it's an odd comparison because it's not a dictatorship, but it's that idea of you have this solid power that's consistently there all the time, and there's no option. You can't. We have a democracy. We vote in our governing power, and we have the option every 5 years of choosing whether we still want that governing power in place. And that is whether you talk about, you can get into the sort of the nitty-gritty of democracy in the country, but by principle we choose who governs us. Whereas with a higher power, you don't get that choice. You're simply given this sort of answer, and If you don't like it, then tough, kind of. So, yeah, I'm not as massively into the higher power and the creator and that, but the values in themselves I still find.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah, because I think I would probably maybe be on the different side. I would be like, I'm quite interested to know the purpose, right? And I feel like I don't have it. I don't have it, and I think we don't have it. I think the humanity has shown over the millennia of its existence that, if anything, we just sort of flounder whenever we're left to ourselves. We cause more problems than not. And I think until someone establishes some guardrails, and that someone cannot be one of us, because we would just do that incorrectly. We have a history of dictatorships and failed cults and sects and other things. But if it is someone who truly has created us, who intrinsically knows us better than we know ourselves, almost like an artist, right? I mean, often people say, Picasso, what was he thinking when he drew these triangles and cubes and all this stuff? And people write books about that. But like, look, dude, just ask him, if he was alive, well, what were you thinking? He would explain, what was he thinking? I see the same way with God. Like, if he has created us with a purpose, with a sort of foreknowledge, with a path, with a plan, with objectives that benefit us in terms of our existence and being, I would want to know what that is, so that I can make my life the most fruitful. It can be the most potential reaching it can be. And actually, I don't see that as a negative thing. I think people often think about, okay, what does that mean? Does that mean like I have to now go to church every week, and I have to do these sort of I have to restrict myself from having fun or drinking or smoking or stuff like that? I think people get that incorrectly, because I think they look at first of all, they look at it incorrectly with those things. Those are not sort of prohibited, but at the same time, they're starting at the wrong place. Rather than starting at the sort of maybe the guardrails, look first at the prize, and then see that the prize is beautiful, it is worth pursuing, it is potential fulfilling, and then other things are going to fall in their place. Like you will say, okay, no, actually, just like we have rules for the road. If we didn't, we would just keep running cars into one another. There's something about rules that make things work.
Well, it gives things, gives things structure. That is important. I think what I would say is that, again, in my belief in human autonomy in your own sort of mind, is that I'm not sure I want someone else to tell me what the meaning of life is. I think I'm quite happy working that out myself, and I think I get more value from trying to work that out. I think I'd almost be like, oh, right, okay, right, now I know now. Okay, I guess I'll just do that. But I think part of the purpose is finding that out. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's almost like, it's an odd comparison, but Tyson Fury said that the moment that he won his title fight and he was champion of the world or whatever, the next day was like one of the saddest days of his life, because he'd done it, he'd achieved it, and he's there, and it's like, okay, well, now what? So I think that I don't think it's always about the end goal, it's how you get there. And I think that you're pursuing your meaning and pursuing what you want to find and what you want to know about yourself is part of life, and it's probably one of the best bits. I don't think I'd necessarily want someone to tell me who I am. I'll find that out on my own. Do you see what I mean? But that, again, that's my personal opinion. I think everybody's well within their right to find their purpose in different ways. But,
yeah, great. Well, this was a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate your insights and your time. I don't. If you have any questions, I mean,
I think we covered it.
I think we did cover it. I mean, just to give you a little bit about myself. I mean, I am a Christian, and it's something that happened to me, say 14 years ago as an adult. I mean, I was born a Roman Catholic, but just like most people in this world, I don't want to sort of put everyone in the same basket, but I went to church not really understanding what is it I believe, what is it that I follow. But as an adult, I started to sort of, okay, let me pursue what is it about, read the Bible, challenge it. I mean, my background is more science-based. That's what I studied, whatever it is. But I was like, is it true? Is it real? Is it worth following? I came to the realization, or my view was that this actually thing that's happened in history. And if it did, it requires a response from me. Either I will follow it or I will not. Put it to the side. And I decided, look, it's worth it. It's real. It's actually explaining a lot of things about the way I see the world, and I decided to follow it. And things started to change in my life. Really changed. Like my personality started to change. My desires, my loves, my pursuits started to change. I mean, it started with that idea of being thankful,
Yeah.
being thankful for the Almighty, and then ordering my life in a way that proceeds from that thankfulness.
Yeah.
By sort of thinking of what is He like, what does He want me from me, and what does it look like to be that kind of follower? And and I find it, I mean, if anything, I found it freeing.
Yeah.
I found it freeing. I appreciate that's the difference, right? I found it freeing. I found it fulfilling, and joyful. I mean, if anything, there's like hope and joy that sort of proceeds now that I fairly, like, I didn't know, I was pursuing, like, what is the meaning? What is the purpose? I feel like that's been answered to me. And then now it's kind of like living that out. Yeah.
Well, that's no.
Yeah. No.
Fair play. No, I was, no, fantastic to hear. I mean, like, I wouldn't dream of telling you that isn't a completely legitimate way to do it. Like, fair play. And I don't know what my direction is, but I mean, but that's fantastic journey, that you've done that. Well,
yeah. Well, thanks again. Thanks. I really
welcome.
appreciate it. Yep, your time and your thoughts. Yeah.
No, you're very welcome.